Let's do this!
Ooh. Topic of the show. Ooh, spooky time. This is our spooky top. Well, it was going to be our top 5 list when it was just being Davey, but it's 3 of us. I think talking about 15 games is going to be a bit overkill. So should we just stick it down to 3? Our top 3, I think, is a better idea. So, maybe we do some honourable mentions as well of games that like no one brings up if we think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, but could
I'm going to get my list up because I can't remember what I put as my top 3. Yeah, so I've been using the IGN lists app, which is like it's good for like correlating your game collections and stuff. I use the GG app as well, which is quite good, but it's a bit more. The IGN one's actually a bit more flexible, so you can put stuff in different orders and stuff. So I think that's the way I correlate stuff. So I got a little group of 26 games that I consider my favourite spooky games, and now I'm trying to figure out what's my number 1, what's my number 2, and what's my number 3. I'm on the spot. Okay, so Davey, as you're our guest, do you want to go first or last? It's up to you. Or middle, I suppose.
I'll kick it off. If you want. Are we doing it round so we all do our number 3s and then go on to our number 2s and do our number 1s? Or do you want just my... Yeah, okay. So,
so this is our spooky... I just wanted to obviously preference it before... Sorry, I didn't really mention it. So it's our top 3 spooky games. That doesn't necessarily mean horror. That means games that are supernatural or have something to do with like Halloween or something, or like, you know. So if this is a game you're like, ooh, it's Halloween, I like pumpkins and I got my pumpkin spice latte and all that shite. You're like, ooh, I want to do something Halloweeny. These are the kind of games you could play. So that's more of less what this is about. So sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. What is your number 3? Davey?
Yeah, so I originally wrote a number 5 list, and I had a rule for this. So I wasn't going to include more than 1 game per franchise, and I wanted to have things that were generally accessible by all, even though my number 1 is not. But we were doing top 3. I'm going to spice up my order. So this now is not a totally accurate list, but I think this would be a better list for this. So my number 3 is coming in by Dead by Daylight. I adore Dead by Daylight. It's something that is definitely spooky by nature. It's got moments where it can be absolutely balls to the wall terrifying at times, when you got the huntress hunting you around, singing her little lullaby, and it's available everywhere. And this time of year, especially around Halloween, it's a great time to dive in. They do loads of updates around this time of year specifically. And you've just had brand new killers in with the likes of the Xenomorph. And before that, you had new survivors with Nick Cage himself. So it's a great time to dive in. Me and Spence play Dead by Daylight all the time. We absolutely sweat it. That's going to be my number 3.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, that's the 4v1 multiplayer game, isn't it? There's a lot of games similar to it coming out, like knockoffs, like the Chainsaw Massacre game just came out. I think that was like 3v1 or 3v2 or something. I can't remember how that one works.
It was it was 2 teams. It's 2 teams of like, you got survivors, which I think there's 4 survivors, and I think it's 3 killers. I think. But yeah, so it's another asymmetric multiplayer game. But Dead by Daylight just does it so well.
Nice.
Kind of reminds me of
do you want me to go next,
Hidden,
or Alice, do you want to go next?
Like,
it's up to you.
Goes where you just have to play as a Hidden, and you're supposed to kill all the people with guns there. I think it was a free game, but yeah, it's still like incredibly fun. Not gonna lie.
So, do you want to go next, Alice, or do you want me to go?
Go ahead. I'm just gonna go for the first one on the list, which is Splatterhouse 2 on the Sega Mega Drive.
Ooh. Oh, I like it. Retro game. I love it. I haven't even thought of any retro games. That's good. I like that.
It's just the atmosphere, the craziness.
Splatterhouse 2, let me get in character.
Yeah.
The guy from Splatterhouse looks like Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
He has this mask.
But yeah,
that game's
so
fun.
I think it's so great. Once you get the whole atmosphere, the controls are pretty simple. You just like, all you have to do is like go around a linear level and time your kicks and everything. But I think it's just like all those abominations you have to kill off, and also the music like really digs. Like, if you want a more variable gameplay, Splatterhouse 3 is there. But Splatterhouse 2 is it's pretty much a top spooky game to check out. And this one is a bit of an obscure one because I don't think it's been re-released anywhere else apart from certain collections. So if anyone knows how to play Splatterhouse 2 legitimately, then let us know in the comments below.
Love it. That's awesome choice. I love that. So good. My number 3 is... I don't know if you guys are probably going to argue with me with this one, probably. I don't think it's traditionally a spooky game. But my number 3 is Metroid Dread. The Metroid series is highly based on the Alien series. And you have to explore a spaceship, and you have the Emmys, which chase you down and are bloody terrifying. And it's actually my favourite Metroid game. And I think that's a controversial take because everyone says Super Metroid's better, but Metroid Dread is so... Have you played Metroid Dread? It's so good.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, huge Metroid fan. And yeah, I'd definitely say that's spooky. Those robots are terrifying. And they're solid.
They
terrifying.
Absolutely
Fucked my ass when I was playing that game. Couldn't believe how hard it was. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, just literally just killing me all the time.
You can't kill him.
Well, no. That's
that game is so...
Good game.
I've actually got Metroid Dread on the Switch. I think it was about 2 years ago. That one's really incredible. And I definitely paid full price for it. And it's just it's such an amazing game, which is sadly that hasn't been talked much about it. But it's just kind of funny you mentioned Dread as a spooky game. But I think it's really tame compared to Metroid Fusion, which is the next one on my list, because the atmosphere is much darker.
Too.
There's Parasite X that just goes into other creatures and steal their DNA, which turns into actual monsters, and it's just so crazy. Also, it's got that huge tension and all the atmosphere, and it's just something I always come back and listen to this music there because it's just so atmospheric, and it was so brilliant. Which just makes me feel glad that you can actually play this on Switch Online thing. So it's really good. I got this back in 2002.
Fusion,
Got it for Christmas, and I think it's just really fantastic.
So with Davey's rule, where he said only one game of each franchise, I've done that as well. So I mean, I could have put Metroid Prime, I could have put Super Metroid. There's so many choices, but I went with Dread purely because the enemies are bloody terrifying, and then you can't kill them. They're all brilliant though. If you're a fan of Aliens, I mean the main bad guy Ridley is named after Ripley from Aliens. I mean, a lot of it is inspired by Aliens. So if you if you like Aliens, this is a spooky game. So I thought I might get some
you should play Scorn on
you guys,
Xbox
but you
Game
guys seem
Pass.
to be cool with that. So that. Oh no, not Scorn!
No,
Don't bring up Scorn! Oh no. Ugh. No.
Yeah, I'll leave that one.
No. Davey, what is your number 2?
So my number 2, if I was ranking this on the best survival horror, then I'd have to go for Resident Evil Remake here. But I'm not. I'm doing this on just spooky games that I feel that you guys might want to play. And so I've gone for a game that I believe is on Xbox Game Pass for you, and that is The Evil Within 2. I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass right now, and it's a game that I would thoroughly recommend it for both of you. Honestly, I really would. It's incredible. So The Evil Within 1 is solid. It's really hard, and it's kind of crushingly hard at times. It's actually a bit unfair. Evil Within 2 puts it into a kind of semi-open world, and it's just amazing. It improves on the original in every single way. You don't really have to have played the original to dive into this. It's got some great set pieces. It's really tense throughout when you're sneaking around using stealth, and it's got these moments where you go into... It's all side quest content, but you go into these buildings, and you'll have just this ghost that appears that is just fucking terrifying. So scary, so spooky. It is so atmospheric. It's so well done. The gameplay absolutely bangs. It's one of the best games that I've played in the survival horror genre in my life. It's absolutely fantastic. I really highly recommend it.
High praise.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely adore it. And it's not my favourite in the survival horror franchise, survival horror genre. It's not my favourite, but god damn it, it gets up there. It's definitely up there. Highly, highly recommended.
Yeah. And that's a good choice
for people
too,
who don't
because,
really know Davey's work, he has a YouTube channel where he...
Yeah, it's a good choice too, because it's made by the same developers of like Hi-Fi Rush, which is why there's a bit of an Easter egg which suggests that Evil Within 3 could be coming like sooner than expected.
Ooh.
But I think if you enjoy Hi-Fi Rush, then you could try
Ghostwire
Tokyo, or you can get to some real good stuff by playing the Evil Within series.
Yeah, the only
I was going to say that...
Oh, sorry, Karen.
No, I was just going to say, for people who are not aware of Davey's work, he has a YouTube channel where he talks just about survival horror games. So saying this is one of his favourite survival horror games is very high praise, because I think you're probably my go-to person when I need someone to talk about survival horror games. Like, I would say you are the expert, so if anyone says it's a good survival horror game and Davey says that, I think that's a high praise. I just thought I'd obviously mention that for people who are not aware of your like channels and stuff.
Thanks,
but yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Davey.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of sheds a bit of doubt on Evil Within 3 is because Shinji Mikami's moved on now, hasn't he? He's no longer at Tango.
Yes.
So with him going, I don't know. But then again, Evil Within 2 wasn't done by him. It was done... So he did Evil Within 1, and then for number 2, he brought one of the junior developers up to the directorial seat to be able to give him a crack, and they absolutely nailed it. So... if they put out Evil Within 3 and it's Xbox exclusive, I will buy an Xbox for it. I will buy one frame one. Yeah, I adored Evil Within 2 so much. So yeah, that would be something that would make me buy a console.
The only thing is with the Bethesda leak that happened a couple of weeks ago, it had Ghostwire Tokyo 2 as their next project from Tango, so that's probably more likely going to be the next game, unfortunately. But
damn shame.
I would love an Evil Within 3. I've heard it's good. That's a really interesting choice. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and download that on Game Pass now. That's really... You make me second guess my list here. I'm like, maybe I should have put that on there. Alice, what's your number 2?
Well, I did mention the Metroid Fusion, and the fact that Davey said it's like one per each franchise, and I'm like, I'm not sure I would go ahead with it, but to be honest, I think I'll just like stick with another retro game because I think no one's going to end up picking it. So, the second one, it'll be the Ooze on the Sega Mega Drive. This game is a very obscure one. It's from the developers behind Comic Zone, where apparently you get turned into slime, but you're just brought in and you just go in and like kill people as you go around the top-down wasteland, so you can collect all that slime and collect all the DNA. But yeah, it's just really crazy because it's not just like you're just a slime there. You just often like shown like a skeleton with all that ooze over it, and also you get people's screams as you kill
Christ,
them.
Alice, this is dark.
And then you just go through
This
pipes
is dark as hell.
and kill all the creatures. It's just really insane. I mean, I thought, wow, that's crazy. And then people are literally scared by how disturbing it is.
Yeah, it sounds really messed up. So you're just a killer slime. What did you say this game's called?
Ooze. I'm gonna put this up on the YouTube channel.
Ooze.
If my internet connection
pull
is
this up. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this
fast. But yeah, it's made by the same developers of Comic Zone, which I think I did like mention it twice before. But there's also the same developers, which I believe they worked on like. I think it was the Sonic 2 or some sort? But anyway, I'm just going to put this into chat just to speed things up.
Sonic 2? I love your deep cuts, Alice. I'm loving this. This is brilliant. I'm not expecting anything like this. I love it.
I'm looking at this right now, this ooze, and he is terrifying. It is literally just a ball. It's just a gunk puddle with a face with teeth on it. Absolutely terrible. It's the stuff of nightmares. This, I might not be able to sleep tonight. This looks absolutely so messed up.
Damn.
This game.
I just cannot believe you guys have never
really
heard of this game.
Love this one, Alice. Love it.
I just can't believe you just
never
stuck to your PlayStations and Nintendo so much that you didn't notice what really awesome shit that Sega comes out with. So I just couldn't believe you guys haven't heard of this. It's crazy, isn't it?
I was a Mega Drive kid. I was a Mega Drive kid, and I think there's probably a reason why I never had this. I think my mum probably looked at this and thought, my little boy's not going to be playing the U's. No siree. But I feel like I've really been let down. I feel like my childhood was ruined by not playing the U's now. And looking at this, it looks... Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for this, Alice. I have to try and buy the U's now.
Thanks, Alice. You've scarred us for life.
But yeah, it's just like... I can't blame you anyway, because I have never heard of this game before, until the 21st century. But I heard of Comic Zone, but I think that Ooze is a very rare title until it's got mentioned on Sonic Mega. I think it's Sonic Mega Collection Plus. It's got featured in it, but I think certain Mega Drive collections has got this. I don't know if it's on Switch Online, but if it doesn't, then put this game into it. That would be great.
Well, the one good thing about it,
crazy.
The one good thing about it is that it looks like it's relatively cheap to buy. So it looks like you can get it for... Some people are selling it for £5, and others are selling it for £95. So I think I'm going to have to shop around for the U's, and this might be a game that I play next Halloween. Prep me for it. I think I need a year build-up for the U's.
Spoiler cast. Ooze spoiler cast incoming, guys. I love it. I love your deep cuts, Alice. They're bloody brilliant. I
just wondered if it's actually on Steam.
Should I say my number 2 now?
Oh, go ahead. I'll just
have to have a
try to look for this thing.
I'm sure we could. So, do any of you guys have any indie games on your list? Or is they AA your number ones?
No, mine are all AA, AAA.
AAA, yeah. Alice?
Well,
I've lost Alice.
I think the trouble is that trying to decide on number 1 though. I mean, I don't know if we're on that, but Halo Combat Evolved is going to be number 1 and just serve as a
I'm on my number 2.
There. Is it? Oh, right.
Oh, fair enough. I'm on my number 2. No, it's because I was going to say there's 6 indie games here, and I can't decide which one I want as my number 2, and I'm really struggling. So I'm like, ooh. That's why I just wanted to kind of quick shout out before I actually reveal my number 2 is. So I was just going to mention quickly, Doki Doki Literature Club. That game is creepy if you've ever seen that. That's mad. Inscription, spooky card game, really good. Definitely check that out. Limbo, black and white platformer where you're a little boy who gets chased by spiders and it's terrifying. And also Inside, made by the same people. And then obviously Vampire Survivors. I love Vampire Survivors. It's not really spooky, but you are a vampire and you do kill things. And it's very Castlevania-esque. But my number 2 is Undertale. Because you talk to skeletons and stuff, and it is sort of spooky. It's not scary at all. But the music is absolutely fantastic, and the world is very supernatural. No, but it's very supernatural because you've got talking skeletons and stuff and monsters, and it's that's what my logic anyway. I think I might get some heat from this one. I'm not sure. Well, what do you think?
Oh, I was waiting just in case Alice wanted to go. Yeah, I love Undertale. So I came to Undertale really late. Actually, I came really late to it. I think when I first started my YouTube channel, it was one of the first games I reviewed, just because I had it. Don't know how I had it, and ended up playing it through. And the thing that makes it spooky is that you realise that you yourself are the monster. So I didn't realise there was a way to get out of the house without killing my own mother on the first time. So she's blocking the door. Yeah, I killed her straight away. Frame 1.
Yeah, I did that. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I felt like such a bastard, man. And then literally just killed everyone I could. Literally didn't spare anyone.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was an
psycho.
Yeah, absolute nutcase. Yeah, literally an absolute nutcase. And I realised that maybe this is me. Maybe this is my problem. Maybe I am just a psychopath. So, but yeah, I think it is. I think it is a bit spooky, though. It is spooky. There's definitely parts where it's a bit spooky, for sure. Even though it's all tongue in cheek.
Like, it's all tongue in cheek. It is silly. Like Papyrus is a ridiculous character, but he is a skeleton. So I mean, I absolutely adore Undertale. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's like so good. It's just I love the world, the setting, the gameplay, this art style, the music, just everything about it. I just adore it. I think the fan base might have kind of ruined it a little bit for some people, and like obviously it's become a bit of a meme now to hate on Undertale, but God, I love that game. It's so good. And obviously Sans is like the biggest, baddest boss ever, which is, everyone knows, Megalovania. But no, as you said, you could do a genocide run, or you could have a really happy run where you do a pacifist. The first time I played it, I killed Tyrell, I think her name's Tyrell, which is your mother, as you said. I killed her as well because I couldn't figure out how to save her. But that was the only person I killed in the whole run. And then the second run, I managed to do it without killing anyone, which was nice. But yeah, it's but I never could bring myself to do the genocide run. I just find it too. I'm just like, it's too harsh. Like apparently the music gets like distorted and people disappear off the map because like they know that you've killed a load of, they like the people are actually scared of you and stuff, and your character changes and all. It's like really well done. It's really clever, and I adore Undertale. Have you ever played Undertale, Alice?
I completed most of it before, and I think I just already done like a pacifist one, but I haven't got to that actual ending of it. But I did play the game to get all the achievements before it went off the Game Pass. So I played it on like PlayStation 4, the Xbox, and I bought it on PC like about a decade ago. So yeah, it's pretty good. But I don't really consider this game to be at all like really spooky. But I think it's just more to do a more weird, surreal, or some sort of like a subversive kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very subversive, and I like you, I own it on PC, Switch, Xbox. I think I have it on Vita, and like I've got it on multiple platforms, and I've got all the achievements on it. I adore it. But it's kind of a spooky setting. But I know when you're saying it, it's not a scary game at all. But if you're like a wuss like me, and you're like, I want to do something Halloweeny, play Undertale, and you're like, you're not going to be scared, but you can have fun. And it's like, yay, skeletons and stuff.
It's the horror equivalent of going out dressed as a witch on Halloween where you got a black bin bag on. You know, it's not scary in any way, shape, or form, but it's still spooky. You can still say, "Oh yeah, it is kind of Halloween-y," right? I guess you could make that stretch.
What I was going to say is, what I consider it like is if you're binge watching The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors on Halloween, like that's your Halloween treat, is to watch all this, because they're not scary, they're very silly, but they're Halloween themed. So they're called Treehouse of Horrors. So, you know, and I love a good old Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, to be fair. That's what my plan is for Halloween, by the way. I'm just going to watch some Treehouse of Horrors and play some spooky games that are not going to scare me and make me cry and soil myself as a potato. Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
So have we all done on them? Is that all our second places done, I think?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to make any more honourable mentions before we move on to our number ones? Because I think it'd be cool if we had any games that we want to mention that no one's talked about.
I think I have a few more notable retro game mentions. Well, I don't know. I'll just try to think out. I think there's the Hidden.
Yeah, go ahead.
That one's pretty wild, and I really enjoy it as a multiplayer game. There's also, I think there was some Ghostbusters games about, and I think there was pretty crazy ones there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the first games I actually played is Laser Ghost. So it's an on-rails shooter for the Master System. bring out the sapper and like shoot all the ghosts there just to protect the girl as she gets from A to B.
What? I love it. Where'd you get these games from?
What the crazy thing is,
I don't have a clue where you find these games.
Alice, you could be making up most of these games, and I'm so bought in for each one. I want to know more. I'm so bought into it. This latest question says nuts. But I remember the Ghostbusters game on the Sega Mega Drive. It was great. I remember playing that loads.
I was going to mention that
on my Mega Drive. Great game.
I really want to own or even like play it. That would be so excellent. But I think it's just
good.
Because it's a licensed game. It's just like really difficult to like get to check it out or some sort.
Yeah.
I probably got it somewhere. I think it might be at my mum's house. I think I still have it because I got all my Sega Mega Drive games there. So I think I probably still have it. So if you were desperate, I could probably dig it out. I know, spooky. I got two games, right? So if my top three spooky games were in order of excellence, then these two would be the top two. So, but I'm not doing it in that way. So these two honorable mentions are two of my favorite survival horror games ever made, and that is Resident Evil Remake. Coming in, that is my favorite survival horror game of all time. I know I've spent so many times on this podcast every time I come on, just raving about it. But to me, it's just the epitome of the genre. It does everything perfect.
I agree.
It's a fantastic game in every single way. It's scary as hell, even all these years later. It's fantastic on the gameplay front. The story is proper, just horror, like schlock B movie style, and it's just fantastic. And a lot of the atmosphere and world building is built up by an incredible soundtrack and amazing files, which detail some of the horrors that have happened around the mansion. So, absolutely incredible. And then my other honorable mention would be Dead Space 2. So we've already mentioned it a lot with the eye exam, but that is my favorite entry in the Dead Space franchise, and it's also my second favorite survival horror of all time. Dead Space 2 is one of my favorite games ever. I absolutely adore it.
That's amazing.
And so those would be my two honorable mentions, because my number one is a spooky game, but we'll come on to it in a moment.
See, I got a couple of honorable mentions, but I'm worried that one of the ones I'm going to say will be your Davies number one. I have a feeling, possibly. So I'm a bit. So I'm gonna try and avoid those ones, and I'll mention it afterwards if it's not the case. So Luigi's Mansion 3 is a great game, and it's a horror game. it's like a kiddie horror game, but it's a fun game.
That's the biggest reach so far, Lewis. That's the total biggest reach so far. Got ghosts, I guess.
Bayonetta, you're a witch. That was quite fun. Left 4 Dead 2/1. Those games are really fun, and they're zombie shooters.
Yeah.
I was going to mention Resident Evil 1, but you've already mentioned it, so that's good. Prey by Arcane Studios. That game is incredible. And System Shock /Bioshock.
Oh, yeah, Bioshock, great choice.
Yeah, also Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or just Castlevania games in general are all fantastic.
Yes.
So I've wanted to mention them before. Oh, and also Dead Rising 2, which is just silly, but I love it. Just cutting up zombies with like double-ended chainsaws and stuff is fucking brilliant. Yeah. Oh, and also the only game I think has ever made me like properly cry, The Walking Dead Season 1 by Telltale.
Oh, yeah.
That game, got me. Those are like, I have a spooky list on my phone, so I'll put that in the link in the description if you guys want to see my top 26 spooky games. Ooh. They're all on there. And there's two more I want to mention, but I think they might be Davey. One of them might be Davey's number one, so I'll mention them after Davey's told what his number one is. Speaking of which, Davey, would you like to reveal your number one spooky game of all time?
Now remember, this is just for this list, and I've tried to make it so you guys can access them. I tried to make it so it's for the Xbox guys, but with this one I couldn't really resist myself. And I think I don't want to go something that's too terrifying because, of course, it gets scratched off your list immediately, Lewis. So I've gone for something that you could stomach, and that is Bloodborne for my number one. Bloodborne is...
There it is. Bloodborne. That was one of the games I thought you might have been your number one. That's why I didn't mention it. That was going to be an honourable mention.
It's my favourite Souls game by an absolute landslide. The atmosphere, the whole setting, everything about it is just so spooky, so twisted Lovecraftian. It's so goddamn good. It's incredible. I got the platinum on it. Had to run it like 7 times in a row with my character Barry Big Bollocks, and just literally sweated it. Played it over and over and over again. Just an absolutely incredible game. And, you know, even though it's not like a survival horror or anything like that, it's definitely spooky.
No.
It's definitely spooky. And so I'm putting it up there as my number one.
It was going to be in my top 5, so it's a really good game. But I didn't really play much of it. Like it's on my on my YouTube channel, you can see the whole Let's Play. My friend, you know Dean, don't you? Smash Friend. Basically, it was me and him playing it. He was mainly playing it, and I was just talking over it. And it was so much fun, just chatting shit while he was playing Bloodborne. It was so much fun. That game I got really fond memories of it, even though I never really played it properly. But it is on my list of games I want to play. Like there's so many, like Liza P just came out, and everyone says it's like very similar to Bloodborne, and I'm really tempted to play it just because of that, because I really have fond memories of Bloodborne. That game is hard, man. I suck at Souls games, but I really want to play it. After Elden Ring, I feel like I could play Souls games now. I want to try and play some more Souls games. So, yeah, that's high on my list. I hope they get a remake on PS5 or like a remaster or something. If that happens, I'm totally buying it for sure, and I'm going to try it out.
But then I just beaten it on like PlayStation 4 with the Platinum as well. So if you got the sound effect of it, might be a good time to play it.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I
play the sound effect, Davey.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a platinum.
But anyway, even though it came out during Easter in 2015, this one is just like really fantastic. It's such a spooky environment. Is really like melancholic and really disturbing. But I think it's got some really amazing bosses in there. And there's like even the king at the top of the church is just like so hard to beat. But all you had to do is like beat it, is to like counteract his attacks. This one is like crazy. But I think the whole thing is just like the story is really good. It's like disturbing, and all of it is just so addictive and gets this whole environment done. Also, it's the most accessible of all the Dark Souls games. So it's like, wow, it's brilliant. And it's just, in fact, there's even the PlayStation 1 remake of this, and it's done by a trans woman. So it's like, wow. It just shows like how much love is there for the game. And it's just like, cool. Given that now there's like Liza P, which is like a follow-up to it, it's just now like, it's pretty much like Blood Bowl Fever's like coming back, but then I think it's going to be a while before we can get to hear about the remaster, remake, or ports of it to the PC or some sort. Because at the moment, the only way you can play it is like on the PlayStation 4, unless it's like backwards compatible on PlayStation 5.
I think it is.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Backwards compatible?
Yeah, you can play it on PS5, 100%, no problem at all. But yeah, the dream would be that you get Blue Point on it. They did such a good job with Demon Souls that if they could do Bloodborne, they'd do it so well. And Bloodborne was Sony funded, so they do own that IP, so they could just do it and say, yeah, get on it. So there's a strong chance that could happen. But then again, in PS3 Trust, we're always just wanting Blue Point to remake every single game known to man. So, if they're following what we want, they've got their work cut out for them, because they're remaking Metal Gear Solid 1, they're remaking Legacy of Kain, they're doing everything as far as we're concerned. So, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and if you're an Xbox owner and you're on the because you listen to an Xbox podcast and you haven't got access to PlayStation, Liza P is supposed to be very good and is supposed to be like a spiritual follow-up. So, maybe check that out, because that's on my list of bucket list of games to play. It's like top of my lists, but I literally downloaded it this afternoon at the same time I downloaded Dead Space. So yeah, Alice, what is your number one spooky game of all time?
I literally came out with a list on a short whim, and I think I picked the like top 3, which is like so good. But Metroid's already been chosen, and there's bound to be like other games that I forgot. Like
that's fine, you can choose
Bloodborne,
Metroid,
for instance. But I think the one on the list there that, yeah. But I think the one that definitely deserves to be on the list is Halo Combat Evolved.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I didn't have the guts to say it, but I love it.
Yeah, the floods, right?
The flood level.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
Terrifying. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like a horror section. I didn't have the guts to say it, but you're right. That is one of the scariest. Well, as a kid, I was terrified, but it's not that scary. But it's good. It's a cool concept. The flood, like you got. Sorry, I'm kind of going off on one. I know it's your top number one. I just wanted to say, it's like you start off, you're the Spartans versus the Covenant. You're like, oh, the Covenant's evil, blah, blah, blah. And then out of nowhere, you suddenly have this like third threat, this other thing, and it's like visual storytelling where like they tell you. Like you find out about the flood before you even see the flood. Like you see like the effects of the flood. You see like dead bodies and stuff. It's like, what's going on? And you're like, it's so good. So good. I'm sorry, Alice.
Yeah,
it's your number one. You could talk about it, but yes,
because when I first heard of Halo, it's just like some kind of pseudo open world thing with like action and adventure. And it's like heard about it, got the Xbox, haven't got into it, and then it's just like, I just found out that I think it was either that for the magazines or not. But when I was like playing Halo 2, it's like, oh, we're going as an arbiter. And then it turns out, oh, there's mutants there. And it turns out, oh, wait a minute, that's a flood?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like a bit more distressing there. But I think the scariest entry when it comes to the flood is like Halo 3, because you get transformations of humans and flood. That once they get involved with a parasite of the flood, they end up getting turned into like flood zombies, and also they did the models very well.
Yeah.
But I think Halo Combat Evolved certainly takes a top spot because it's advertised as if it's an action game, but once you get neck deep into it, you just realize, oh, wait a minute, is this actually a horror game? I literally saw the video where it has a compilation of all the people who are like playing Halo, and then when they get to the, I think a 343 Guilty Spark, it's just like, oh, wait a minute, is this a horror game? And that's when, I think it's just, it's just like how they did a spooky event stuff there, and this makes me think like all games should have a degree of spookiness at some point. Like Conker's Bad Fur Day, you get spooky levels where one of the levels you get turned into a bat and fly around. And there's also what's that other game? Half-Life 2. It's pretty spooky because it involves head crabs, and then you get into levels where you have you get head crab zombies, you have to go around and try to survive. And those are kind of things. It's just what really like takes the game to another level, because you really have to be scared in some way, and it just makes you engage with the game more. Otherwise, if you go like do some like typical things and then you don't have a lot of scary stuff in it, then it doesn't seem to be that like boring or some sort. But when you have like spooky stuff into it, or something that is like incredibly scary or distressing, then it's just what really makes it more interesting. Yeah.
I think the flood is like one of the best twists in like gaming for like the last couple of years. Like one of the best Xbox twists for sure. I feel like we should have had you on last. You should have had the because that was like it would have been a really fitting ending to this section of the Xbox podcast. yeah, I adore Halo. It's like my favorite game series ever, so I'm not going to argue with that one. That's fantastic. And also the whole Season 5 of Halo Infinite is literally inspired by the Flood and stuff, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Like, if you enjoy the Flood,
I think we lost
Season
it.
5 is where it's at. It's also a shame that Halos 4 and 5 have just got crap because they don't have a Flood. Instead, they've got the Prometheans and got all this lore shenanigans in it.
Oh, yeah. No. Screw the Prometheans. There's no Prometheans. Yeah, no. Well, they kind of killed... Well, I mean, spoilers for... I always say spoilers for whatever, but that's just my thing. But Halo 3, I mean, you kind of kill off the Flood. I mean, that's the whole point, right? That's like the whole thing. But yeah, I guess that makes... Yeah, they could bring him back, though. I'm sure they will bring him back at some point. They're fan favourites, the Flood. Everyone loves the Flood. Or everyone's scared of the Flood. I don't know. Everyone's interested by the Flood, at least. So, yeah, Halo Combat Evolved is... Yeah, I probably should have said that's my number one, but it's not my number one. Should I say what my number one is?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, before I say my number one, I wanted to say what my other honourable mention was that I thought Davey might have picked. The Last of Us Part 1 is zombie fungus people.
Yes.
I love Part 1. I can't stand Part 2, but Part 1 is still one of my favourite games ever. I love the dynamic between Joel and Ellie, and yeah, and it's a really cool world and setting. Again, it's a PlayStation game, so go away, PlayStation. I kid. It's so good that they've remade it 3 or 4 times now and charge you full price each time.
Worth it every time.
And to do it to a TV show. Especially if you're Spencer, he bought it full price, didn't he?
Yeah, every time, day one.
But yeah, that was an honourable mention. That's not my number one. My number one is a remake of one of my favourite games of all time that was my number one until this year. It is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Is my number one spooky game. My favourite survival horror game of all time.
Resident
I adored it.
Evil
it's so
4.
good.
Remake.
Evil 4 Remake. I love that joke. It's so stupid. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 Remake. I love that game so much. It's shocking to me it's not going to be my game of the year this year. It should be, but there's so many good stuff in this year. It's ridiculous, and it's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite horror game of all time already. It's incredible. I mean, they take everything that was good about the original and then improve on it. And I don't know what else I can really say. This game is just incredible. I just love it.
Well,
it's so good.
Resident
Evil
Evil 4
of the characters.
is a good
you don't have to.
What, you mean Ashley the mouse?
Yeah, you don't have the Leon. Help me, Leon. Yeah, you don't have that. She's still there, but she's not as annoying. She's actually a likable character for once. And then obviously the beginning with the village, obviously that's like the most iconic thing in probably the most iconic Resident Evil moment ever, was when you go into that village and get attacked. Like, they managed to remake it, make it different, yet still feel the same. I don't know how they did that. It's so crazy. And it's like this, and as I said, they changed the plot so it works really well. Like they just changed they just got rid of all the annoying parts and they just made it fantastic. I still haven't played Separate Ways. I've heard that's really good. I was listening to your podcast. You were saying about you were all saying you preferred it to Resident Evil 4, which I'm actually kind of shocked about.
The guys were saying that. The guys were saying that. I think for me, I prefer. I think the base game, the base game is just fucking perfect. I think it's so good.
I love it.
It's so good. And I was on the opposite end to you, where I've never enjoyed 4. I've enjoyed it. Yeah. I've enjoyed it. It's a classic, right? But I was never. Yeah. Whenever I think of Resident Evil, I don't think of 4 ever. Ever. I always think of like the original trilogy, Code Veronica, Outbreak, those kind of things, right? But yeah, 4 Remake is just impeccable. It's absolutely impeccable. The knife parry system is just absolutely amazing. How they cut down on resources, so resource management's actually a thing in Resident Evil 4. It's class. Separate Ways, you have to play it before the end of the year, Lewis. You have to. Because it may be the difference maker.
Maybe I'll play that tomorrow.
Do that. Do that. It may be the difference maker that might
be
bump
a Halloween game.
Resident Evil 4 up to potentially being in your Game of the Year discussion. I know you love I know you love Starfield, but Separate Ways is fucking insane. Best piece of DLC I think I've ever played in my life.
Yeah. I think it's my number 3 at the moment, which is still really good.
Yeah.
Because obviously Zelda's right up there as well.
I think that's where I'd put it.
God, what a year we've had. It's so insane.
Wild.
So insanely good. I was going to say,
it's
like,
a shame
I mean,
that
spoilers.
You didn't pick
I'm not going to go into too much detail, but
Majora's Mask as number 1.
Oh, that's a good one.
That'd be a good
that's
choice.
a good honourable mention.
That's a great choice.
I was going to say, what's his name? Is this Salza? I can't remember his name now. The guy with the knife. What's his name?
Oh, Krauser. You're right, Krauser? Krauser's with a knife.
For some reason, I couldn't. I love that Krauser. They've really they've made him much more relevant in the story. In the original, he was just showed up. Like, it actually kind of makes sense, and he actually I don't want to spoil too much, but he gets into the story, but he's much more integral to the story this time around, and it's done much better, I think.
Yeah,
and it's good, and they still got some of the cheesy lines in it, which I love. Like, they didn't get rid of all the cheesy lines. Like, you still go "Where's everybody going? Bingo!" Like, I still love that crap. I love it so much, and they still got it in there. But they got rid of some of the cheesy lines. But yeah, it's a really good game. It's my favorite survival horror game ever.
Yeah,
and I will. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be doing Halloween now. You've convinced me.
The first Resident Evil game I've beaten. I got the Resident Evil on GameCube, but I really struggled to beat that. It's make sure you have enough ink ribbon for the typewriters. Like, you just go around, get killed by the Crimson Walker, end up losing about an hour's progress. But what really made Resident Evil fantastic, which I played on the Wii anyway, is the fact you can save on the typewriter numerous times. So I was able to complete the game. But I think I got Resident Evil 5, only beaten the beginning section, but it's just I haven't got into any of those sort of games. But Resident Evil 4 is just perfect way to begin this whole thing.
Well, for me, I think with Resident Evil 4, we've had this discussion lots of times because you love Resident Evil, you guys talk about it all the time. But for me, I feel like there's 2 different types of Resident Evil games, isn't there? There's the proper survival horror game, and then there's the goofy action game. And I feel like Resident Evil 4 is the bridge between the two. And I like the goofy action stuff, and I like survival horror, but only to a certain limit. When it gets a bit too scary or jumpy, I'm like that. I like the balance it has. It's about the right balance for me.
I get you. Yes. I get you.
For some people, it's not scary enough. I get that.
I get you, and I mean the thing with me, my biggest complaint with Resident Evil 4, the original, was just that you were just one man army. You know, you had pretty much unlimited ammo. You were just smoking everyone. There was never a thought of, do I have to save this person? Do I not? The knife was so busted. So you just literally just knifing and kicking everyone to death. And then in this one, they just brought survival horror and the threat of numbers, which was always the intended reason to make Resident Evil 4 scary. It's supposed to be the number of enemies, right? And that was their whole kind of push. And it just never worked in the original. It just never was scary because everyone was just got absolutely wrecked by you. Whereas in this, the threat of numbers is just terrifying because they actually are. They will absolutely gank you. And so it just works. It just works for the first time. It's oh my god, yeah, they absolutely nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. Capcom killed it this year. Absolutely killed it.
So good. You've convinced me I'm going to buy Separate Ways as soon as this podcast is finished. I'm going to go play it. But yeah, that's my favourite horror game of all time, and I think it's a really good year for horror. I was going to say, this year for horror games is absolutely mad. You got Resident Evil 4, Dead Space Remake, Callisto Protocol, Alan Wake 2. I'm sure there's others I'm missing.
Loads of great ones in the indie space.
Was pushed to next year.
Yeah, loads of good ones in the indie space this year as well. It's been a fantastic year for survival horror. Really has. Last couple of years, it's the resurgence. For sure. It's the resurgence. We got Silent Hill 2 next year.
Love it.
It's going to be a good time.
Your channel's going to be busy.
Yeah.
You've obviously got your special channel for just if you want to plug that briefly.
Sure. Yeah,
you
well,
should definitely check out
funnily
the
enough, I'm actually
Ooze,
moving away
Laser
from survival
Ghost.
horror. Yes, Alice, yes.
All right, Alice.
Yes, I will. I will check those out. But I'm going to be taking a short break from survival horror fairly soon because I'm going to do all the Metal Gear Solid games, every single one.
Love it.
So I'm going to do every single. I'm going to start with Metal Gear Solid, and then I'm going to move backwards to the original couple, and then move forwards from there. So I'm going to do. I got to start with Metal Gear. So I just got to. The timeline's already bugging in Metal Gear, right? So it doesn't matter which order I do them in.
Yes.
So, if I start in chronological order, we'd start with Metal Gear Solid 3, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start with Metal Gear Solid, because it's my favourite game of all time, to get all my gushing out the way, and then I can go back and look at the ones I never played and then go forward. So, going to take a short break from survival horror, but of course I'll be dipping in every now and again with some Resident Evil content, of course.
And please, you have made it to the end of this week's X Marks the Box podcast. You should follow us on X Marks the Box on both Twitter and YouTube. But never forget to subscribe to us on all audio podcast services. Now, it's about to turn into night, so remember your 3 favourite things well. Have yourselves a very happy Halloween. That is, if you could make it to Christmas.